Hey guys, we are in the basement and today we're going to do part number 6 of the Gyruss Restore. That's right, we're going to go to the garage and we're going to work on Gyruss some more. Today we're going to do a lot of cosmetic stuff, a lot of painting. We're going to completely restore the coin door. We're going to strip the living hell out of it. We're going to fill in the holes. We're going to paint the cabinet. It's going to be a lot of painting and sanding and all that good stuff. But you know what? We got to do it to restore this game. And by the way, check this out. Mad Planets is working. I have replaced the bridge rectifier on the power brick and bam, it's all fixed. And most importantly, down here, guess what? Cubert is also working now. And Cubert, I replaced the power brick. God darn it. I always leave this TV on. Anyway, so Cubert, we replaced the power brick. I think I had a bad transformer. I think that's what it was. I think that the reason that the game was not working at 110 volts is because the transformer, there was just something out of whack about it. So I replaced the entire power brick and the game is now working again. Anyway, I tell you what, why don't we go to the garage and let's work on Gyruss. This is going to be kind of a longer one, I think. But you know what? We got a lot of work to do, and at the end of the video, we're going to be almost done. Now, this is not going to be the final part of the Gyruss Restore. We're going to finish it next weekend. We're almost done, though. We are so close. And quite frankly, I'm glad, because it's been a while. I've been working on this game way too long. Anyway, let's go to the garage, and let's work on Gyruss. Okay, here is where Gyruss stands today. This is part 6 of the restoration, and the hope here is that this is the last video because we're almost done. In this video, we're gonna take care of the coin door. We're gonna restore it completely by filling in the holes. We're gonna strip it. We're gonna paint it. We're gonna make some custom inserts for the 25-cent things. And then also we're gonna take care of the front of the cabinet here, and we're gonna paint all of the black. And we're also gonna replace the t-moulding. And I think after that, my God, I think we're done. So why don't we get started with the coin door? What we need to do here is we need to fill in these holes and then also paint the whole thing black. And we're going to fill in the holes. The plan here, and hopefully this works, is I got some washers. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to glue washers with JB WELD. Now, I have never used this stuff, but I've heard great things about this. It's an original cold weld formula, steel reinforced epoxy, and it says that you can sand it, you could drill it, you could do it, all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like glue and Bondo all in one. So we're going to use this to actually glue washers to the back here, and then we're also going to use the JB WELD then to also fill in the extra area. So the plan is to put a washer behind this hole, and then to put these smaller washers in front of it to fill this in. And then after that, we're going to fill it all in with some more JB WELD, let it dry, let it get hard, and then we're going to sand the whole thing down. So why don't I set up the tripod here? We're going to take this whole coin door apart. We're going to strip every part off of it. You really need to do that to do this right. Actually, check this out. This is kind of funny. This game was originally in Showbiz Pizza. Look at that, Showbiz Pizza Place. Game asset number 322417. So we're going to go ahead and take this sticker off. We're going to sand this all down. We're going to sand this other hole. We're going to strip every part off this coin door because we're going to repaint this whole thing. And then we're going to have to be kind of careful when we do it that we don't paint over this, or I guess we could sand it after. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to handle that, but let's get everything stripped and let's set it up on a tripod. Okay, so stripping this is going to be really no big deal. We're just going to take our screwdriver and just go to town on it. And basically, you just want to take off everything. We want to take every part off of this coin door because we're going to paint this whole thing black front and back. And so we just going to go to town here for a screwdriver. And again, this is pretty basic stuff, but it's just a necessary step here. Again, I want to keep track of all my screws. I don't want to lose anything. And so here we go. Okay, we are done here. Everything is off. I removed every single screw. I'm keeping them all in these bags here. I did leave these pieces out of the bags because these are going to get painted with the coin door. I'm going to paint these. I'm also going to paint the heads of these nuts here. These carriage bolts that hold the coin door onto the cabinet. Okay, so right now we want to talk about this piece right here. And so let's get all the crap out of the way here. And before I can do anything here, I need to prepare this coin door. I need to sand this down. We need to get rid of this showbiz sticker on the back and sand everything down and make it nice and clean and flush. So I'm going to go ahead and get my palm sander. Let's get going on that. Alright, so let's try to get this showbiz sticker off here. This thing's on here pretty good, but it shouldn't be too bad. And it left all kinds of glue. So I'm going to take some Goo Gone. This stuff is good for removing grease, stickers, tar, gum. It's good for removing like adhesive and glue. You can also use Goof Off. So we're just going to let that sit on there, and then hopefully we can get that off with a paper towel. So let's let that sit for a couple minutes. Alright, we'll be right back. Alright, let's see if we can get this glue off. Oh yeah, it's coming right off. Look at that. That stuff works awesome. It's funny, honestly, the glue on this little tiny showbiz sticker was harder to get off than the control panel. Still got some glue on here though. And this is also a technique that I would use to get glue off of a control panel because, you know, when we did the control panel on the Gyruss, the glue really didn't stay. It was kind of, the glue was so old, it was just dead. But if you have residue like this, a little bit of Goo Gone and a scraper. I've also used brake cleaner to get glue off, and it actually works pretty well. Alright, that's pretty good. So I think all we need to do now is just get ready to sand this. It's going to be kind of a bitch to sand inside that little hole there, but I think we could do it. I don't think I'm going to be able to use my my palm sander in here. It's just too tight. Alright, I'm going to see if I can use my palm sander in here because this has a little bit of a raised lip. I want to get this nice and flush and see if I can kind of sneak this in here. Okay, that looks pretty good. So our area is kind of prepped and ready to go. I'm probably going to clean this off a little bit. Maybe I'll use some Simple Green or maybe some alcohol just to kind of clean this all up. The one thing I'm going to do right now, though, is you see this right here? This coin door here has a little bit of a bend. It's a little bit bent right there. I'm going to take my hammer and just kind of pound this on the ground. So let me be right back and I'm going to do that. Okay, there you go. It's a little bit straighter. Not perfect, but a lot better than it was. All I did was I put this on the ground, I just hit it with my hammer till it was straight. So, okay, so let's clean this up and let's get ready to use the JB WELD. Okay, I've cleaned the coin door up. I used a little bit of that orange cleaner stuff, which I think is like a generic Simple Green type stuff, but nice and clean, nice and smooth, no residue, no stickiness, and we are ready now to start doing this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue washers to the back here, okay? And these are going to be used as a base so we can glue washers to the front, and then we're going to fill it all in with this JB WELD, using it kind of like Bondo, and then we're going to sand it and then paint it. I have never used this stuff before, so we're kind of going to learn this together. But the one thing, though, is that I do need to let it set. I'm going to have to do this in several steps. The first step, of course, is gluing these down. And then the second step is going to be gluing these to the front, the small ones to the front. And then the third step is going to be filling it in like Bondo, and then letting it dry and then sanding. It does say here that it sets in 20 to 25 minutes. It cures in 15 to 24. Allow 4 to 6 hours before handling and 15 hours before putting it back in use. So I'm hoping that we could glue these washers down, let it set in the 20 minutes, and then turn it over and then glue the ones to the front. So let's go ahead and do that first. Now this stuff, it says you just mix equal parts of these two things. We basically have a hardener and a steel, it's called. So steel and hardener. And we're going to mix equal parts. And we don't need a lot right now because we're only going to be gluing these down. And I'm probably just going to use this cardboard here to apply this stuff and also to mix it up. So let's, and so we need to puncture it. So let's go ahead here and puncture the tube. I've always heard good stuff about this stuff, so hopefully we will have good results here. Alright, and there's the other stuff. Okay, so let's put our cap on, and we'll mix it up. God, this stuff smells. Woo! Boy, that stuff looks just like Bondo. Alright, so we're going to mix this up, and then we're going to use this as a glue. Yeah, this stuff is very much like Bondo. I think it's like a steel reinforced Bondo or something. I don't know. Boy, it's already getting kind of hard. Alright, so let's put some of this on our first piece. I'm not really sure how much to put on here, but we're just going to kind of learn this as we go. Alright. There's our first one. Okay, let's get our second one on. Did I not make enough? Okay, I realize now that I don't want to let this dry just yet because this stuff inside here is still a little bit wet. I'm actually going to go ahead and put the first washer on each one. So I'm going to mix some more of this stuff. So let's go ahead and put this on a washer here. And I'm just going to go ahead and stick this right in here. And you can see how this is going to work. Look at that. It's coming off though. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do the next washer too. Look at that. That stuff's actually pretty great. Huh? You can really see how this is going to work. Alright, I'm going to let this set, and then we're going to then do the next step. Okay, here we are. It is now the next day, and this stuff has dried, and boy, holy crap, is that hard. It's hard as hell. That stuff is not coming out there. So I'm going to put a little bit more in here. We're going to fill this in just a little bit more. So I have some area that I can sand down. This area here is kind of raised probably enough. I'm probably going to put a little bit more here too. So let's go ahead and mix up some more, and we're going to throw some more on there. But this JB WELD stuff definitely seems to be the stuff to use. Pretty hard stuff. Alright, so let's mix some more of this up. And I just want to kind of fill this in because it's still lower than the surface of this. I want to raise it all up and then sand it down flush. I suspect that when we sand this, it's not going to be too easy to do. But we'll see what happens. Oh man, I sure hope this stuff sands easily. I'm definitely putting a lot on here. Alright. I'd say that is good. So we're going to let that dry overnight. It's definitely not pretty, but we're going to let the sanding do all the work, and hopefully we'll smooth it out. So let's let it dry overnight, and we'll come back and sand it. Let me kind of show you how close up here, how I kind of smoothed it over a little bit with a piece of paper, and I think that'll be kind of okay to sand once it's dry. I had to use a little more over here because it was just kind of, the washer wasn't as flush to the surface, and I think once it hardens though, it should sand nice and even. I do think it's going to be really hard to sand in here. I might have to do it by hand. So we'll see. So, all right, let's let it dry, and we'll be back tomorrow. Okay, here we are. Another day has passed, and this stuff is all dry. And so now we're gonna sand it down and try to get this as flush as we can, and hopefully make it invisible after we paint it. Now, this JB WELD, I've never used this before, and hopefully the sanding will go okay. But it's kind of almost like a rubbery. It's less like a chalky feel like Bondo is. It actually feels kind of rubbery, but hopefully it should be all dry. It's been over 24 hours, so. All right, let's set up the tripod and let's sand this bad boy down. All right, here we go. I'm gonna use my palm sander again. This is like 40 grit. It's pretty aggressive. I wonder if I should change this out real quick. Let's try it out. Okay, I think I'm done. I actually removed almost all of the JB WELD, and but it's pretty flush here. It's not 1000% perfect, but it's not bad, and feels pretty smooth. I think once we paint this, you'll never know that was there. Yeah, I think that was a success for sure. Yeah, I think it's gonna look great when we're done. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wipe this down. I'm probably going to spray it with a little simple green and just kind of clean off all the dust. And we're going to get ready to paint all of this. I took my sander to it and got kind of most of the chunky stuff off of here. You can see the paint is just chipped everywhere. So I'm going to go through it again real quick with the sander and just kind of get some of this looser paint off of here. I don't think there's actually that much. Let's see. Okay, we're done. I think everything's prepped and cleaned. I sanded all the loose, flaky paint off this stuff. It's not perfect, but it's pretty close. And everything's kind of nice and smooth. And we're ready to start painting. Actually, I want to talk about paint because on coin doors, you'll find that there's all kinds of different finishes on them from the factory. And so I've had to have these different kind of paints on hand for these various kinds of coin doors. And really, there's just a few that always you seem to need, and that is, well, normally what I would use is satin. This is probably my favorite, just general purpose black. I don't like stuff super shiny. Usually most things were just kind of like a satin, like a very low gloss kind of black, and not flat, but just a little bit of a sheen to it. So there's satin, which I think we're going to use on this coin door because it's probably the closest match to the original finish. However, some coin doors you'll find will have a textured finish, and I've used this a few times, like on my Frogger coin door. And what's also great about the textured finish is that it covers up a lot of imperfections. It hides them. It actually would be a very good candidate for this because you probably would never be able to see what we did here with the Bondo work, actually the JB WELD work. This would really cover it up. But I don't want to use this because this isn't really appropriate for this coin door because it was not textured. Another kind of paint that you'll use for coin doors is hammered. And you'll see this a lot on some of the older Midway coin doors. I don't really think have I used this before? I've used this for something, for one of the coin doors. I don't remember which one. But a lot of coin doors from the factory had this hammered finish. And the hammered has like always like little like divots or like hammer hits in the paint. It's actually pretty cool. And then another paint that I actually just started using is the lacquer. And I actually used lacquer on these pieces, and they turned out really nice. The reason I'm not going to use lacquer, though, is because it has a little bit of a texture to it, and I don't know if that's my fault or if that's the property of the paint, because it's not very smooth. It has a very slight texture, so I think we're going to stick with my trusty satin on this one. And before we do any of that, it's probably a good idea to use some primer first, and we're going to do that today. So first we're going to prime it. I'll probably do one coat of primer both sides, and then after that we're going to hit it with the satin, and I'll probably put a few light coats of satin. And I'll probably be painting this now for the next couple days. You know, I'll do a coat and I'll wait about a half hour, and I'll do another coat and wait a half hour, and then the next day I'll come back and look at it and maybe do another coat or so. But I take my time with this. I think it's worth it. Restored coin doors, I think, look really good and kind of make the game. So, okay, let's get ready and let's put some primer on. Oh, and real quick, actually, let me show you. This was the Century logo badge that goes on the coin door, and I just took some masking tape and taped over the logo itself. So we're going to kind of paint around it. I actually did it this way when I did my track and field, and it turned out really great. So I'm hoping it also turns out good this time. You could paint this whole thing black and then take the sander and just sand the paint off the logo. I don't know, it feels a little risky, so I'm just going to go this route again because it worked fine with my track and field. So, okay, let's get priming. Okay, I just set everything up on some old ceiling tile here. So we're also going to paint the carriage bolts that hold the coin door onto the cabinet, and I kind of went ahead and sanded those and stuck them in a 12-pack of soda box. I always do that. It works really well. Okay, so all right, let's hit these with some primer and let it dry, and then hit it with some paint. And yeah, I know this is pretty basic stuff now, just painting, but it is necessary. Okay, so we're going to let the primer dry and then come back and maybe put another coat of primer on and then put the paint on. So we'll be back. Alright guys, change of plans here. I was not really happy with how the spray paint was going on. I didn't sand well enough on the coin door, and I was getting just like bumps and unevenness because the area where I sanded it and it was in the area where I didn't sand it, it was like a step, and it looked horrible. So what I did is I tried to sand it down some more and strip it even with this wire wheel. I was just getting nowhere, and it's really hard to get in here because there's all kinds of different levels on this coin door. It's not flush, you know, it dips down. So I decided to try this. I've actually never used this on a coin door. This is Citristrip. It's a stripping gel, and I made a big mess here. It looks horrible, but I covered the whole thing with this gel, and I'm gonna let it sit for about a half hour. And I've already started kind of going in here with my scraper, and it's totally lifting all the paint off to the metal. And if I can get it to the metal almost everywhere, I'm gonna be really happy here, and it's gonna look that much better. So, you know, live and learn, right? So I'm gonna let this sit. I'm gonna scrape it and clean it up and see if we can get this looking pretty good here. Yeah, it's totally lifting the paint off. So this is the way to go here. This is working actually really well. So I'm just gonna let it sit and then come back and scrape all this paint off, and this will be a lot cleaner and smoother for the spray paint, because I just don't want it to look you know, all bumpy and stuff where the sanding was uneven. So, okay, we'll let it sit and be back. Okay, here we are. It is the next day, and I let this Citristrip here sit overnight, and man alive, it turned this paint to just jello. So, absolute success. So simple. I've never actually stripped a coin door this way. I'm going to do this all the time this way. I mean, look at this. I don't even need to scrape. I can just take a paper towel and get all this off. So, huge mess, but sorry. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to wipe this all down with paper towel and just scrape all the loose stuff off with the scraper here. But I mean, look at this. It is just, this is all the original paint in here, and also the paint that I added, and it just comes off like nothing. That is awesome. Messy as all heck, but really effective. And this is gonna make for a much better finish than my Bush League sanding job we did before. So, look at that. Look at that. That's awesome. That is some badass shit. Alright, so I'm going to turn it off. Let me wipe this all down with paper towel. And I think when we come back, we're going to have a pretty stripped control panel. I mean, coin door. Be right back. Okay, here it is. I cleaned all the Citristrip off of here and wiped it down, and it's pretty darn good. I'd say this is definitely ready for paint now. We're not going to get any unevenness because it's pretty smooth and consistent all the way across. Now on the back though, some of the Citristrip got to the back and started eating up and loosening up some of this paint, and I really think to do this right, I'm going to have to also put some of this on the back and let it sit, and then wipe all of this off too. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm doing this very sloppily, but we're gonna go ahead and put some of this Citristrip all over the back here and spread it all around and let this sit for overnight probably, and then start painting this again tomorrow. So, and we're back. I'm just spreading this around with a paintbrush. This is probably not gonna be fun this side to get all this crap off of here, but you know what? It's the right way to do it. Let's do it right. I tried taking some shortcuts before, but I just did not like how the coin door was looking. The paint just looked uneven because I didn't strip it all the way. And I've gotten away with that before, but this time it just didn't want to work. So it was interesting though, when I took this the stripper off today on the front, I didn't even really need to scrape it. It all came off with a paper towel, and then I washed it in the sink, and it pretty much just fell off. So this stuff's pretty great. At least with this, whatever paint's on here, the Citristrip agrees with, which is good. I put some on this hinge over here. It's definitely a lot messier, but it's Easy. Alright, we are going to let that sit, and then tomorrow we'll come back and get all the paint off of this side, and then we'll start painting again. I know, this is exciting, right? Alright, be back. Okay, here we are. It's the next day, and so I let the Citristrip sit overnight, and this stuff is ready to be cleaned. The paint is just falling off, no problem. I don't even really need to scrape, just wipe. So I'm going to clean this all off, run some water over it, and then we should be ready to start painting this again. So be right back. Okay, so I'm all done cleaning. I washed all of the Citristrip off it in the sink with some water. I let it dry, and I sanded it a little bit to kind of clean it up, and wow, it looks pretty great. Not perfect. You know, to get it a little step beyond this, you'd have to sandblast it almost. So this is pretty good. Definitely better than I did before. You know, I tried to get away with just sanding it a little bit, and obviously I didn't like the results, so I started over. You know, don't be afraid to do that. Sometimes you go down a path and you realize this is the wrong path and you got to start over, and you know what? I'm sure I'm not going to regret doing that. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead now and start painting and priming again. Probably not going to film it, just like I showed before. I'm going to prime it first, and then I'm going to hit it with some satin black. And, all right, I will be back. All right, same deal as last time. Primer first, and I'm using this Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch primer. So, and then when I'm done, when it dries, I'm going to hit it with Rust-Oleum Satin Black. Okay, while this is drying, we're going to move on to painting the cabinet, which is probably one of my second least favorite things. And luckily today, though, we just have to deal with black. And I've already prepared the surface. I did that in the other videos. This has all been sanded. We filled in the holes right here. So our surface, and we squared up the corner down there with some Bondo. So our front surface here is all ready for paint. What we need to do is remove everything off the cabinet in the front. We got to take the control panel off, take all of this off. I haven't decided yet how far up I'm going to come with the black, because I really only need to paint the bottom, because this area up here is actually in pretty good shape. This is the all the original vinyl or paint that's on here, so I'm kind of tempted to just kind of only paint to here. However, though, it's kind of ugly underneath here, so I think I should paint this and address these bolts, or maybe I can just clean this up. Maybe I won't paint this because most of this is covered with the bracket. So I think if I clean this area up and then also clean these bolts here, I'm not really looking to cut corners so much, but there's no sense in painting all of this if it's already in pretty nice condition, and it really is. And you know what? Me painting it is not going to look as good as this original vinyl, if you ask me. Now I could do vinyl. I could get the black vinyl and put it on here. However, I've never done that before, and I've always just done the paint, and I've had actually really good luck with it. And let me show you the paint that I use. I always use this Rust-Oleum Satin Black here. I believe this is oil-based. I'm pretty sure it is. It used to say oil on it, and then at some point the artwork on the can changed, and I'm pretty sure this is oil-based paint. I know it used to be, and it's Rust-Oleum Satin Black, and what I usually use is a roller, a foam roller like this. I've actually never used this one. I used to always use the foam ones like this, and these are trimline foam rollers. And I was reading the packaging at Home Depot, and it looked like this is actually a better roller than I used to use. So I have high hopes that this is going to work. This is the best. They call it the semi-smooth to semi-rough surfaces. It's for drywall, plaster, lightly textured surfaces, which I think is about what we have going on here, and it's shed resistance for the smoothest finish. So I have high hopes this is going to work. And I have a brush here that we're going to use for the corners and stuff. So, okay, so what we're going to do now is I need to get everything off the game. I'm going to remove the control panel and all that stuff. I want to put the game on its back when I do this. And I want to remove all of the T-moulding because we're going to replace this. And I like to remove this when I'm painting. That way I can kind of get to the edges here. I'm not too concerned if the paint goes over to the front when the T-moulding is removed, because if I get any paint in the front here, it's going to be covered by the T-moulding, so no big deal. So okay, I'm going to go ahead and start removing all the parts here, and then we're going to put the game on its back. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, I have the game on its back here, you can see, and so I'm going to start taking the T-moulding off. And this comes off pretty simple, pretty easily. And you can see it's kind of cracked everywhere, so we're just going to pull it off and just go ahead and pull it off all around. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, all of the T-moulding is off, and we are now ready to paint. And nice flat surface. I'm going to clean it off real quick. Let me get my paint together, and let's do this. Okay, I went ahead and I removed the rusted bolts that were showing there that hold the speakers on, and we are going to paint this panel right here. It's not that great, so I want to sand it though, because a lot of the vinyl and stuff is flaking on it, so we're just going to hit it with the sander real quick and just smooth it out before we put paint on it. So, alright, let's go ahead and do that real quick here. I'm starting to think that we're going to end up painting all in here. I don't know how I'm going to avoid that, because when I start painting in here, I'm going to hit this, and I actually just hit that a little bit with my sander, so we're going to have to paint in here. No biggie. It's only black. Alright, so let's get our paint ready here. And we're going to do several coats. I have thinned this. I've thinned it in the past with like naphtha, and I don't think I'm going to try thinning it this time. I'm going to put it on as is, but we're going to stir it really well. So let's open that up and let's get going on this. You know, I am by no means a painting expert here. Assure me, but I can get through this stuff. I can fake my way through it. I'm not afraid. Don't be afraid to do this stuff. It's kind of hard to screw up black paint, you know. Just take your time, and less coats is better. So let's go ahead and mix this up. But this is going to look great when we're done. Now, I kind of cheated. I sanded all these carriage bolts down. We're just going to paint black right over them. It's going to be fine. You know, I don't want to be in this garage any longer. I want to be done with this. I mean, I've already spent like 2 months working on this damn thing. I just want to be done. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're gonna paint this with a brush on the sides. We're going to kind of frame it out. And I think that's how the pros do it. So we're gonna try to do the same. And so we're just going to start with our brush, and we're just going to kind of frame this whole thing out. And then we're going to come in with our roller and do all the center areas. And again, you know, I removed the T-molding, so if I get a little paint on here, no big deal. The T-molding is going to cover that right up. Okay, so now I kind of framed it all out with my brush, and now we're going to do the roller. And so let's go ahead and get a tray. And I'm not going to be able to keep this on here much longer because I'm going to run out of room. So just going to throw a little paint in there. And let's put this down over here. Okay, so we're just going to kind of get our brush. Okay, we have our first coat on. I'm gonna let it dry, and then we're gonna apply a second coat. I think it looks pretty good. I've never used this roller. I'm worried I'm gonna get a little bit of orange peeling. I hope that's not the case. Orange peeling, you know, is kind of when it looks like an orange peel. I want it to be smooth, and whenever I use the foam roller, it's pretty smooth, but we'll see what happens after it dries. So let's let that dry, and then we'll come back and put on one more coat. All right, we'll be right back. All right, guys, it's the next day here. Everything's dried. Coin door looks pretty good. You know what, though? When I stripped the coin door, I kind of messed up my patching a little bit on those holes. So you can kind of see where I patch. You know what? I'm just gonna live with that for now. But so yeah, everything's coming along here. I need to put a second coat on the cabinet. It looks pretty decent though. Looks better than it did, that's for sure. And so I'm gonna go ahead and take my paintbrush and paint along the edges again, and then take my roller and give it another coat. With this paint, you gotta allow like 24 hours, it says, in between coats. It hasn't quite been 24 hours, but we're gonna go ahead and do it because I want to get this done hopefully today. Start putting T-molding on next. So I'm gonna get set up here and hit this thing with another coat of paint. All right. Okay, there we go. That's our second coat. We're gonna let that dry. And once it's dry, we're gonna come back and we're gonna put the T-molding on. So we'll be right back. Okay, it's been about 4 hours here. The paint it's not quite dry, but it's dry to the touch. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna put the T-molding on now while I have the cabinet on its side. And the reason we want to put the T-molding on when it's on its side is because the T-molding on this game actually goes all the way around the entire circumference of the game. Some T-molding just does like the front, you know, a little bit of the bottom, the top, and a little bit of the back. On this game in particular, it goes all the way around. So we're going to start on the bottom, and we're going to go around all the way and back to the bottom again. So here's what you need to do to put, put T-molding on. Well, you need some T-molding, and it comes in various widths. Some T-molding is more flat than others. Like on Nintendo, originally, Nintendo had a very flat T-molding, whereas this one here has like a crown to it. I think this is kind of close to the original. Here's what the original was. You can see the profile of it, and it has a bit of a crown. And this new stuff also has a crown to it. The Nintendo stuff was perfectly flat. You can get that at choppingquarters.com. This particular T-molding I got at arcadeshop.com. I think this is 9/16. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's 9/16. I think it cost me $10 for 30 feet here, and this should be enough to do the whole game. So let's undo this here. And by the way, the tools you're going to need to do this, you should have a rubber hammer, rubber mallet, and I use this to kind of knock it in. And then you also should have some side cutters. I like to use my small, thin flush cutters for this, because we're going to actually cut the barb here when we go around corners. Because these really tight corners here, the T-molding, it can't bend. It cannot do that corner without cutting it. So I'll show you how to do that. So I tell you what, why don't I set the tripod and let's get ready to put this T-molding on. Okay, here we are at the bottom of the cabinet. And we're going to start in the middle of the bottom here. And all I'm going to do is just take my T-molding here and put the groove of it, the barb of it, into it, and then just take our rubber mallet and pound it in. Pretty simple, really. It gets tricky, though, when we get to the corners. It's also a good idea on the bottom here to throw some pneumatic staples in, and I'm actually going to do that now. I can see I already need it. So let me go get my, my staple gun. All right, let me show you guys what I'm going to do here. On the bottom, it seems like the grooves have gotten kind of loose here. It's just not really staying in. And so what I'm going to do to make sure it stays in well on the bottom is I'm going to staple it. You could just use a staple gun. I always use this. This is a pneumatic stapler. I picked up this whole set here at Ace Hardware, I think for $100 a few years ago. And this thing is awesome, actually. And it launches, hang on, let me show you. It's going to launch these little staples right here. These guys right there. So we're going to throw those into the T-molding on the bottom. And I'm doing it on the bottom because it's out of sight. You know, you can't see the staples, and it's just going to kind of secure it there. So let's put this together. Let's turn this on. Okay, so that's gonna give us a nice base here as we go around. Okay, so we need to take care of that corner now because we're not gonna be able to make the corner the way it is here. And you can see, let me show you guys. So we need to cut the T-molding here at the corner. Okay, because it's not gonna make that. See how it just kind of bends it on itself? So I'm gonna take my my flush cutters here, and we're just going to kind of come in here and cut some of the material. And you have to do this, otherwise you're never going to make the corners. And we're simply just going to come in here and remove some of the barb, some of the rail from it, so we can make the corner. And now it can. See that? Just like that. That went on pretty smooth. This game's actually pretty easy, really. It's just not a lot of bends on the front. It's just kind of very gradual. All right, so we need to take care of this back corner here. All right, same deal here with this back corner. We need to cut the barb so we can make that bend. And so I'm just gonna come in here and just cut some of this. And perfect, we can make the bend there. So I think what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna stand the cabinet up and we're gonna finish this whole one side. Let me stand it up real quick. Okay, so we're gonna keep going all the way around. And when I'm doing this, I'm like pulling tight because I want everything to be nice and tight. I don't want loose T-moulding on here. All right, so now we need to address this corner here. Again, same deal here. We're just gonna come in here and remove some of that material so we can make our bend. And that looks pretty good. Maybe just take off a little bit more here. Oh, come on. All right. So I want to go about there. Okay, so what I want to do here is basically I want to try to make this corner while the cabinet's up. Let me show you guys what I did here. On the bottom corner, I took my flush cutters and removed part of the center bar, but it was kind of loose. So to hold it in place, I threw some staples in here on the bottom. Again, these are out of sight. You'll never see those. I don't want any staples showing on the front. I don't mind if they're on the bottom or on the very, very back on the bottom. You'll never see that. So now I can tilt the cabinet back and staple that thing to the bottom. We can start the other side. Okay, we have the cabinet on the side and we're ready to just kind of finish it off here. Just gonna throw some staples on that side. I was a little short there on the bottom. I really don't care. No one's gonna see that. So we're done on that side. So now it's time to do the same thing on the other side. So I'll just go ahead and do that. And this isn't hard to do. It's just, it's not hard. You just gotta take your time. There's nothing hard about this at all, really. Okay, we're done. However, I wasn't really happy with how the T-molding was sitting right here. It was kind of loose. See that? And the groove is just worn out and it won't stay down. And there's a couple ways to get around this. One is to fill it in with Bondo and recut it with like a Dremel or something. Or you could do this little trick, which we're going to do right now. We're going to put some tape on the barb here and then pound it in, and then the tape and the pressure of the barb along the sides will just keep it in place. So I'm going to do that. So why don't I, we're going to get some tape. You know, just over from pulling the T-molding out and stuff, it stretched out the gap. So this little trick will take care of it. Alright, so I just took some masking tape. This is blue masking tape. And we're just going to lift this up here, and I'm just going to put this on the barbs. We're essentially just making the barb a little fatter. And just kind of need to do it in this spot right here. Like so, and then we're just going to pound it in with the tape. And that looks good. And you can see now we're sitting nice and flush. And then I'm going to go ahead here and restaple my my corner here. So, all right. Okay, the T-molding is on and it's looking pretty sharp here. So now we got to start putting it back together. I want to put the coin door together next here. And why don't we go ahead and do that right now. But it's looking good. Looking good. Alright, before I put the coin door back together, actually, I want to clean up these red plastic pieces. These are the 25-cent push-to-reject buttons that are visible in the coin door, and these are just filthy. So I'm going to soak these in water and soap in a cup. But also what I want to do is I want to replace the original artwork that's inside of these. When these things light up, it says 25 cents push to reject. But I want to make some cool ones. I actually made some Century ones, some custom ones that are available on my site at johnsarcade.com. So I'm going to print some of those out, and we're going to replace these crappy ones with my new cool ones. So, all right, I'm going to go wash these. I don't think you guys need to see that. I'm just going to put them in a cup with some soapy water, and I'm going to print out my custom reject stickers. I'll be right back. Okay, it's time to put the coin door back together. I just washed all of the plastic pieces here, and I also printed some new inserts. These are the push-to-reject inserts. If you go on my website, johnsarcade.com, I actually have the artwork files for these Century ones. I made some custom Century ones. They look really cool. I have these in my track and field, and when they're lit up, it looks perfect. And I just printed these on normal paper, black and white, and cut them out with scissors, and that's it. So why don't we go ahead and put these back together. I want to make sure I put these in the right way, though. Does it go like this or like this? So we're just going to go ahead and just put this whole coin door back together. And this is directional, so I want to make sure I get this in the right way. Something tells me it goes like that. Okay, we're done. Let's take a look here. It looks actually really sharp. You can see our cool Century push to reject buttons. It looks like it was born that way. And now let's remove our masking tape and reveal our logo. And yeah, this looks bitchin'. Look at that. That is one handsome coin door. So yeah, that's a total success. That looks great. Look at that. That looks awesome. So we have a couple minor issues on the back here. I don't know if there's some paint here on the C. I can sand that off though. On the back here, we're missing like almost everything. And we're missing the lights, which is a problem. We're missing the harness, which is a problem. My buddy Pete, though, gave me a Time Pilot coin door that has the same wiring harness. So I'm hoping that we can use this harness and these lights, at least. The thing I'm most concerned about, I want the damn lights, and because I want these to light up here, and I hope, I don't know if they're gonna fit this, to be honest, but see, this is a Wicco style coin door. I might have to go find the lights somewhere, because those lights on that other coin door are not the same that plug into these. They're the kind of, they slide onto this. So I'm gonna have to go online and see if I can find the Wicco style coin door light bayonets. So for now, let's you know what? Let's put the coin door on the game, and we're about done here for today. We're gonna put the game together. We're not quite done though. So we've got some minor little things to do, like addressing the lights on the coin door. And I want to clean up the inside of the cabinet. I want to install the high score save EEPROM. But other than that, we're just about done. So we're going to wrap this up in one more episode. Why don't I put the game together and let's take a look at our work and go from there. Alright guys, we are done for today, and the game is just about done here. I got it all back together. I have a few loose ends I need to tie up here. Well, the one thing here is the coin door bulbs. I need to find the Wicco style bulb holders. They're like a slide-on style that go on here. And they slide right in there, so I need to find those. So I'll be on the internet searching for those damn things. What else do I need to do? I need to, I need to burn an EEPROM for the high score save. I need to get the PCB in the slot where it belongs. I need to get a back door. I am missing the back door here. So I'm probably going to get a piece of 3/4 inch plywood cut to size and paint it black. I'm also going to take care of this here. I'm going to replace this wood, and I'm going to paint the top black still. I didn't realize that I didn't address this and it doesn't look too sharp. So we're going to paint that. And other than that, we are pretty much done here. I think we can wrap this up next weekend. So guys, that's it for this edition of the Gyruss Restore. Why don't we head on back down to the basement? All right, guys, there you have it. That was part number 6 of the Gyruss Restore. I hope you guys are enjoying this little series. I did make a playlist, so if you want to watch them all in a row or whatever, you can do that. And you know what? We're almost done. Next weekend, we are going to finish the Restore. And then soon after, that game's going to be down here in the basement, and I can't wait to get it down. And I'm gonna try to squeeze it in, believe it or not. I'm gonna try to get it down here without removing another game. I think I can get it in the back there by Tron and Outrun. You know what? Otherwise, I have to get rid of Outrun, and I don't really want to get rid of Outrun, so I'm gonna try to keep it, and we're gonna try to fit Gyruss in back there. And I think I can do it. Anyway, you know what? This is a great time to subscribe to my little channel. I release new videos every Sunday and sometimes in between. So hit subscribe, and I think you get some kind of notification or something when a video is uploaded. And also, check out my podcast. It's called Video Game Outsiders. We do it live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern at All Games, which is allgames.com. The podcast is called Video Game Outsiders. You can check it out at videogameoutsiders.com. And you know what? That's it, guys. We'll see you next weekend. Have a good week. Later.